Hello, hi, my name is Morgana, and welcome. Well, I was gonna say welcome back to the Sims for Ultimate Decades Challenge, but this isn't quite that. This is a Q&A for my Sims for Ultimate Decades Challenge. If you're new to the channel, I have completed the first century. It took a long time, like a year, 2 years? It took a long time. And now we're heading into year 1400, which is already recorded, just not edited, but it'll be out the same day I'll see this anyway, so it's chill. But I did ask y'all if you wanted to have some questions answered about the first century we spent together with the Smiths. So we're gonna be answering the questions that y'all put, but also I do get a handful of questions, especially my older videos from my newer viewers, about my specs and my mods that I use and how I do that. So I'm also gonna be answering those questions because I realize I don't always get a chance to get to it. And sometimes it's just easier to answer certain questions when y'all can see it instead of trying to type it out in a comment, because a lot of times I don't know. So we're here with the Smiths. Yeah, if you're caught up, you know exactly who this is. I gave Annabelle a makeover, so this is Annabelle, but I'm gonna answer my non-UDC questions first because I'm not trying to go out into the year 1401 quite yet, but slight spoiler, I guess. Annabelle's an elder now. So my first question that I got from Flips Up by the Sea, I think. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. All right, my favorite and least favorite heirs. I think... Who are my favorite and least favorite heirs? In terms of heirs, it's definitely Alice and Amir. They're my two favorite heirs just for the whole family all together so far. Alice, because she honestly took me by surprise. When Alice was born, she is part of our second generation, and she ended up becoming heiress because, if y'all recall, everybody in the family died during the plague and I almost lost the challenge. But I wasn't expecting to think too much of her. I honestly thought we were just going to marry her off and she was going to be a side household and it was going to be chill and we wasn't really going to see much of Alice. But because everyone died so unexpectedly, we really got to learn a lot more about Alice and watch her outlive literally everyone. She outlived her parents, as most children do. Not all, but most. As she outlived her parents, she outlived 3 husbands, she outlived most of her children, she outlived a handful of grandchildren too. She survived the plague, the famine. She just survived so much, so I've nicknamed her the Survivor because if anyone's gonna live, it's her. I think she only had one brush with death, and it was during a birth role, like her final birth role. But she's outlived so much, and I just really came to like her character and her ups and downs, and I just learned so much more about her, so she honestly gained a lot more of my respect. Now, as for Amir, very much the opposite of Alice, not a good person at all, and I was really expecting to hate him because at the time I was really kind of feeling Stephen more, but I honestly really grew to like his nuance, I guess. He's not evil, I should say, but he definitely threw me for a loop quite a few times, and that's just what got me, I guess. The way he just absolutely threw me for a loop so often completely took me by surprise. Also in the background, I think I'm making a peasant fairy. So I'm putting fairies in the game because I want to see some more fairies. But anyways, he absolutely threw me for a loop with how strategic he was and how evil he could be. Like, he was such a bad brother and a bad husband, but he was a good father, especially to like Amis, who was his favorite child. Like, I just kind of liked that he put me and his whole family, most of his family, on edge. I never really knew what he wanted to do, and that just kind of made it fun to play someone as dark as he was and just kind of see what he got up to. And he died prematurely, but he actually had some story things I was going to get into, which this Q&A is also going to answer, some what if questions, which I think is going to be fun. But those are my 2 favorite heirs, but I do have non-heir favorite characters as well. Amis, Agnes, and OG Stephen were my 3 favorite non-heir characters. I really wish we got to see much more of Agnes. In my opinion, and some of y'all's opinion too, Agnes should have been heir instead of Stephen, but Agnes is a girl, so went to Stephen, like second Stephen, not OG Stephen. And I'm with y'all. Like, Agnes would have been a much better heir and like head of the family than Stephen, but unfortunately, the fate of a woman, she did not have that chance at all. I just made my whole camera shake. That's crazy. But Amis also, I don't think Amis should have been heiress. I think she would have been fine, but I think having her freedom away from the family was pretty good, especially because her mom just wasn't stepping up to the plate at the time in terms of protecting her. But I really liked her story and all her like trials with being looked down upon by the humans in the village and finally finding her soulmates and the family she built, and then her sacrificing herself to save them. It's just like so beautiful, and I really wish we got to see so much more of Amis. I wish she could have done so much more. Once again, I feel like she was pretty limited on her options because she was a woman, and also because she was our side household character, so we wasn't really going to see much of her outside of like her birth roles, which is sad, but that's just how it played out, unfortunately. And OG Stephen, mostly because of his relationship with Amir, I'm not gonna lie. At the time, before I grew fond of Amir, I actually wanted Stephen to be heir because I thought that Amir was gonna like murder the whole family. I thought he was gonna look down on any type of weakness he saw and then just like kill everybody. I thought that Stephen was so much sweeter and softer. Whether or not that would have been a good thing at the time, I don't know. But the fact that he grew so bold once he moved out the house, especially when it came to his pursuit, kind of sort of, that the longest slow burn known to man in his pursuit of Mary, who is his brother's wife, Amir's wife. Crazy. So those are my three favorite non-heir children, non-heir characters. But my favorite heirs are Alice and Amir. Grogo didn't even get a chance, unfortunately. Humphrey probably would have been up there, but he died so soon before we could really get into him. Grogo, I didn't really think much of him, and he died so early. I didn't really get the chance to even care about Grogo too much. And Stephen he surprised me near the end. I was also expecting to not really care about Stephen. I thought the ladies around him were going to be picking up a lot of the slack, and in a way they did. But near the end, he's definitely kind of like screwed his head on right and was started to make some really interesting moves that I would have never expected from the lazy boy who pushed all his duties onto Agnes. So it was really interesting to see. What drew you to UDC? Okay, so this is actually a very not convoluted story, but it matches up with what I was consuming at the time. But I, for a long time, have been a very big fan of Mari Ray, who is a Sims 3, what's that, consumer? What is it? Creator, Sims 3 creator. And at the time, Mari's most popular series was the Sims 3 for the Realm challenge. I do not have Sims 3 on my computer, and my old computer, it couldn't handle the Sims 3. It could barely handle the Sims 4 with a couple of mods, but definitely not the Sims 3. And because I don't have a lot of the physical discs from the Sims 3 like I used to, I lost a lot of the like DLCs and stuff that I had at the time, and then mods work really differently in the Sims 3 and everything like that. But I knew I wanted to do something kind of old-fashioned, old-timey type of situation, because I've always kind of been into it, but I've never been able to truly do it. And then I wanted some For the Realm content, but that she hasn't uploaded For the Realm in a while because of some gameplay errors, like technical stuff. But I stumbled upon UDC. I think I was looking at Amazon challenges and somehow or another stumbled upon UDC. So it just ended up being like such a coincidence, because I would watch Fantasy-esque's Amazon challenges, specifically her Vampire Amazon challenge. I was watching another Mari Ray, not the Sims 3 creator, but the creator who does the Sims 4 Royalty series. I was gonna say challenge, it's not a challenge, it's just a series. And I was consuming For the Realm, and then boom, Sims 4 Ultimate Decades challenge popped up. I started watching, I forgot who I started watching, but I watched a few episodes of somebody's, and I was like, oh, this is great, I could absolutely do this. And that was like a month before I got this new PC, which is when I started making videos and everything, because my PC can handle it now. And I've been playing it ever since, and I have a blast because I really like playing old-fashioned type of stuff with different rules, like, you know, no electricity, no electronics. And I also just a big fan of long-term, you know, following a family tree type of legacies as well. And it was one of the challenges that gave me a lot of freedom. I realized as I've tried to play a few challenges on here, I kind of struggle with some of them that don't give you enough freedom. But one thing I really like about this is it gives you an outline of events and an outline of how to handle situations. But I'll never know what's going to happen. I'm not being told what traits people have to have, I'm not being told what skills they have to have, anything like that. So that makes it so much more fun for me because I love having my Sims kind of surprise me just as much as they surprise y'all. I promise y'all, like, unless it's the machinima at the beginning or the ends of certain episodes, nothing is planned. If you've been watching this long, you'll see literally I'll be in the middle of talking about lore, and then my characters that I'm talking about will go off and do something completely different. So that's one of the biggest things. So it's grown to be one of my favorite challenges, mostly because of all the freedom it gives me. And it just allows me to play around with some different topics that wouldn't really be relevant in a modern setting. So I'm having a blast, and the chances of me completing this challenge in 15 years when I can finally finish the challenge is pretty high. Oh, what period am I looking forward to? I cannot remember the century, and I should have pulled it up before I started recording, and I'm not about to go through all those Google Docs right now to try to find it. But I think it's either the 1500s, somewhere between the 15 and 1700. I think I can up my average marriage age to young adult instead of teenager. I'm looking forward to that era. Not even because of anything that's going to be happening, but because I can change my MC command center to disallow teen marriage and lessen teen pregnancy. Because I have my MC command center settings set to that, it makes it difficult for me to do other gameplays, especially if they take place in a modern setting. Because when I have teenagers and I'm trying to do like a whole like high school love interest crush thing, or like college or something like that, like university era, all of the like legible teenagers are married off to grown-ass people with 5 kids, and it's really difficult to have a plot line of will they, won't they, who's crushing, who's not crushing, and your crush has been married for the sim equivalent of 5 years and 4 kids down the line. Like it just makes things difficult. So I'm actually I'm actually really excited to not deal with that anymore. Like that doesn't have anything to do with the challenge. It just has something to do with me changing my settings for once. But before I had teen pregnancy allowed, but I'm ready to turn off teens dating older people. So like teen marriage, I want to turn off. Teens being able to like date outside of their age range, I want to turn off. And I really want to lessen teen pregnancy. I had my teen pregnancy at like 5% before, just because I thought it would be fun to like go to high school. And you know, when you go to high school, there's always like 1 or 2 pregnant people. So I just thought that would be fun, but I want to go back to that. And once I do that, it would also open up the, at least my freedom to play around with other households and everything like that. Cause I haven't touched certain households because my Sims are in high school or going to high school. And it's so weird because I can't even do like high school stuff because my Sims are getting hit on by elders and shit like that. So, or their soulmate is like the age of their parent. It's just really weird. So for the context of UDC, it makes perfect sense. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I go along with it if it goes well with everything else. But for my other gameplays, absolutely not. You will not be bringing the grown-ass man with you to prom. I would much prefer you deal with like teen drama than anything else. So I can't remember exactly which century that was. I might flash it up on the screen. I'll probably look into it while I'm editing, but that's what I'm looking forward to turn off that setting. All right, so I think this is the last sim themed question I had about the UDC at least, but some potential what ifs. So I actually have a long list of things that were supposed to happen that just didn't happen because, well, the Sims died or something else happened. But to name a few, I think a few that y'all would be interested in, besides obvious ones like Alice was never supposed to be heiress, like blah blah blah, we all know that. But what ifs? What was supposed to happen? Matilda's original design had red hair. That didn't happen. But no, an actual important one. Amir was actually going to find out that Stephen and Mary were not having an affair, because we know Mary was really cautious about that. He was going to find out that Stephen was attempting to get with his wife behind his back. He was going to get really upset with it. Get really upset about it. And we know Amir didn't really love Mary, but he was going to be more upset that Stephen would have the absolute gall to try to, like, one, outsmart him. Amir thinks he's just like the bee's knees. He's going to be super insulted that Stephen thought he could insult him, one, and try to take something away from him. He definitely viewed Mary as more like, not an object, but like something that's his, right? That's his wife, the mother of his children. Like, there's no way he'd allow the brother he looks down upon most, like out of all his siblings, I still think he looks down on Stephen the most, to take that away from him. So he was actually going to confront Stephen in the middle of the night, say he went to spar, quote unquote, and this, you know, Stephen didn't know how to fight with a sword, so Amir was going to essentially beat his ass and threaten him, and be like, if I catch you doing something again with my wife, I will actually kill you. And I was going to hold him to that. So I was going to have another thing where if Stephen, who came around and would like autonomously flirt with Mary every now and again, if Amir saw that, or if one of his kids that Amir might have been close with, like Humphrey or Amis, saw that and told Amir, Amir was going to kill Stephen, and he was going to let Mary know why he did it. And then Mary would have probably had like the guilt of knowing or feeling that she's the reason Stephen is dead. Amir was never going to divorce Mary. He was never going to call her out. He was never going to make it known that he was deceived or anything like that. He was just going to straight up kill Stephen if that happened. But that was the drama. That was a big piece of drama I was going to have for Stephen's adult lifespan. But death been wanting that man since he was 6, and finally got him. Finally got Amir. So Stephen was safe to flirt with Mary. She still didn't want him, quote unquote. She did, but she didn't really flirt back until they were damn near dead. And we all know how that ended. So yeah, that was going to be a really big piece. Humphrey was going to, if he lived, he was going to have an arranged marriage with that trans woman or trans guy he really liked. They were going to get married, and I was going to let the game decide whether or not he actually really liked her or not, or liked them or not. And if no, he was going to have like an official, what's the male version of a mistress? He was going to have like he was going to have like himself a nice little harem in a village to visit. And I think it would have been like an open secret in the village that Humphrey preferred the company of men at the time. Whether or not that would have been used against him, or how his future partner / wife presenting partner, I guess, would have felt about it, I don't know. But that's what would have happened there. Stephen, honestly, I'm surprised Stephen stuck with Lucia. It's probably because the Lord and his crush at the time died in the Peasants' Revolt. But I honestly thought Stephen was going to be cheating on Lucia with a guy. I'm so, like, when I tell y'all, I was fully prepared for it to happen. But then, what was his friend's name? Ari? Ari died, and then the Lord, who was probably going to unfortunately make Stephen do some things he didn't want to do, they died at the same time, and I think he just kind of realized it was safer to just stick with Lucia. Lucia had her own closeted stuff going on anyways, but like Stephen was probably going to also cheat on Lucia at the time. Yeah. I think those are the biggest what ifs. Amis was, if there was a war, we didn't have any war roles when Amis was in the household, or even when she became a side household, I don't think. But I really contemplated, if she didn't find a husband, like if she really and truly struggled, I fully contemplated on her trying to prove herself and then sneaking off to join the war under like the disguise of a man. So there was a few things I had in store. If Stephen went to war, instead of falling in love with his second wife, I forgot her name, I think he was going to run away with the second wife at the war. Once again, like these are all kind of like what ifs that were in my mind if things happened, but certain roles didn't make it, so it changed a lot of plans between the roles and between, well, the deaths are the roles, but you know what I mean, like between the major events and the personal events, it just didn't happen. So I think those are the major things that were going to happen. In terms of like newer generations, I was going to have them learn a lot more magic, and there was going to be like a big like unit of like a cult solidarity within the village. But as we all know, with the peasants revolt and the monster hunters, there are no more, or actually, are there any more occults in the village besides the Smiths? No. All the spellcasters and all the werewolves were wiped out, and the vampires left a long time ago. So my original plan was to have, and all the other aliens, I think the aliens died too. But anyways, my original plan was to have the Smiths and the other occults all be like, y'all can't see my hands. They were gonna, there's gonna be like an alliance, like a collegiate safety group for the village, but specifically for the occults, because I originally planned for the monster hunter attack that happened in 1390 to actually happen in year 1400. That was going to be our opener to the new century, so it would give me an excuse to like clean out my sims and everything like that. But that update a few months ago forced me to do it a little earlier, which is why we're here now. And there we go, that's it in terms of UDC questions. Now I do actually get quite a bit of questions about the mods and stuff I use specifically for this challenge. So I went back to look through a lot of the older episodes because a lot of people are new and joining us for the first time, and they have questions that I can't always answer in a comment, or sometimes I just miss a comment or anything like that. So I'm just gonna walk you through my most used mods. So actually, if you look at the rules for the Ultimate Decades Challenge, which is always in my description, so you can just click on there. I use pretty much all of the mods that are in those rules anyway, like MC Command Center, the royalty mod, things like that, because those are pretty much, there were things I was playing with anyways, especially like MC Command Center, but you know, I use it to change my settings and things like that. So one of the questions I get about my MC Command Center settings is, well, first off, I gotta, as for like CC, like the clothing, hair, eyes, eyelashes, anything that looks occult, or any like rugs or anything like that, I'm gonna be completely real with y'all, I don't know exactly where it came from. I just googled Sims 4 medieval CC and I just go shopping for a few hours. This is stuff I've gotten over the span of like months, so I really couldn't tell you. Some of them are like meshes from other games. Like I think this is either a Witcher set or a what is that other thing? Elder Scroll? Like some of them are Elder Scroll stuff. I have some stuff from Baldur's Gate 3 that's been converted to The Sims 4. I don't have an exact answer to where some of these mods in CC. So if you see clothing and hairstyles and stuff you like, I can answer questions about like skin, eyes, and eyelashes, and that's about it. As for like hair, clothes, or any CC decorative items, I couldn't tell you, I'm sorry. But yes, MC Command Center. Honestly, this, I think even if you're not someone who plays with mods, this is just good to have in general. If you want to like increase the amount of Sims you allow in your house, that's what I use it for. I use it to change the aging settings for my Sims as well, which I think is mandatory for part of the challenge. Aging, I don't have an autosave anymore, but I'll just go through the list of things I do have on in case you'd had a question about it. So we're going to go through my MCC settings for my UDC gameplay, but because MC Command Center travels across all of your saves, this is just my sim save, but my UDC stuff, I guess, my UDC settings and my regular settings have a lot of crossovers, so I'll just tell you which ones I specifically have in for UDC that I don't typically have in for my regular gameplay, because I know some of y'all are interested in that as well. So normally I don't touch age span duration, but I only touched it for this specific challenge. Because in my personal gameplay, I play on long lifespans because, like I said, I really like family tree and lore and stuff like that. So I actually changed the short lifespan because that's the lifespan I play the least with. So my UDC setting, my UDC is played specifically on short lifespan, but the lifespans aren't short because I changed the short lifespan duration in MC Command Center because I want my normal and long lifespans. Oh, sorry. I want my normal and long lifespans to remain the same. I don't have on autosave anymore, but I used to have autosave on, so it would save on Wednesdays, but now that I record a lot when I'm doing this, I just manually save. Gameplay settings. I have on Adopt Neglected Child, which is good because if there is a child who gets neglected, instead of being permanently deleted, they'll just be adopted by someone else in the world. Especially because I have death on for my household as well as my unplayed household. So if I'm in an unplayed household and every adult/teenager passes away, that child will just be adopted by another NPC household. It's really good for storytelling, and it's really good for making sure I don't lose any important figures if something happens to their parents. And same thing, adopt no caregiver, which is neglected child, same thing, blah blah blah. I have the children can die mod in, so this doesn't really apply to too much anymore, but I did have it on because I was doing a personal 100 baby challenge and struggling at the time. So I changed my maximum household size from 8 to, I think it's either 12 or 14 right now. I want to say it's maxed at 12 for me personally right now. Money savings. So I don't have on child pay bills, but if I was playing like a I turn it on every now and again because I had a personal gameplay of like a child who had to take care of themselves because their parent wasn't able to do it, and I did have it on, but typically I don't have that on. I don't have on auto bills anymore, but I used to, but that's mostly because I had the S&B bill mod at the time, but because I'm not really playing any modern gameplay right now, I took it out, but I usually put it back in when I'm doing modern gameplay because it would help with inheritance and things like that, but and like force me to pay attention to like extra bills just for realism. But now that we have life and death, and I don't really need it for inheritance, and I don't really need it for like banking things anymore, I probably wouldn't put it back in. I have child support on because it's always fun to have on, but I don't think I would accept child support for my UDC challenge specifically. Like, I feel like, well, most of the time if they have a baby, they're in the same household as me because I mostly play with the main household. But in the future, if something happens, like a divorce or something, we'll see, but I probably wouldn't have on child support. Inherited sim type, I did have this on, but once again, life and death came out way after. But I have it set to played and NPC only, and it goes to the spouse first and then the children. You can change it if you want to. And I have paid child support on as well in case someone in my household has a child outside the household. I'd have to take it into account when we pay bills and everything like that. Now, some people had questions about how I get notifications about what's happening in my side household. That's the biggest MCC question I get. So I come here. I think this is what I do. I go to the notification console menu settings, and then I go to notification settings, and then you can just choose which notifications you want to get about aging, death, population, pregnancy, So some of y'all was curious about pregnancy or like relationship settings. So click on pregnancies and it'll show you like birth notifications, marriage notifications. Here we go. I was like, it's in here somewhere. So show relationship changes. I turned it to none because I had too many side households at the time. I turned it off, but I had it on related to active household. That's how I was getting notifications for households that were related to our main household that were getting married and having babies or dying and things like that to keep track of and stay on top of. I turned it off because my UDC challenge, there was a point where we had so many people related to the main household because it stops at first cousins, I think. And if y'all remember my first like generation of side households, all the first cousins kept having kids out of wedlock. I just got way too many notifications about kids I did not care about, so I turned it off. But this is how I'm getting notifications about any relationship changes, and you can have it set to NPC only, played only. So like if Edith, who's not pregnant right now, but if she's pregnant and I completely forgot, if I put it on played only, I get a notification that says Edith gave birth to one girl or something like that. So I try to go be in those households though, but I usually check them anyways manually. But honestly, because this generation has so many side households, like David, Warren, Edith, Celestria, Ada, and Isoda, that's 6 side households. I'm probably going to turn this back on in like the next few episodes because a lot of them are having like 10 or 11 kids and I cannot keep up with that. So that's my biggest MC Command Center question that I get. That's how I'm doing that. Same thing with pregnancy and affair notifications. And I also kind of turned it off because I was getting spoilers and I was like, wait, I didn't know you were having an affair. Like I kind of wanted to be shocked. So, but if you see my previous episodes and you see me like in shock in the corner of the screen because like Nasir had triplets one time, well, y'all can't see my face, but sometimes I blur it out so y'all don't see it, but I see it and I act like it's not there. But that's how I get those notifications because I get that question quite often. Yes, I can turn off text and everything like that. I don't have it turned off because I play modern gameplay every now and again and sometimes it's just fun. But those are my most important settings. Everything else is just typical, like I have my clubs increased to 15 members. I don't do anything specific with the cults, I don't think. Yeah, some people I know they don't like their vampires to breed, so they say that vampires can't have children, but they make children through like biting them, which I think is really cool story purposes. I don't touch that at all. Tuner, I just put on woohoo anatomy and try for a baby anatomy, but my woohoo and my try for a babies, you can get pregnant from woohoo in my settings, so that's it. And I have on autonomous proposal, autonomous marriage. I don't have on autonomous gardening because I don't want them to harvest before I'm ready for them to do so. Population, I have it set so that people who are in relationships, I said soulmates because usually if they're soulmates they're going to get married, so I said if they're soulmates they can move in together. But really they don't move in together unless they're married, and if there's no space in the household they probably won't get married. So once again, very little changes, very little, don't really do too much with theirs. But yeah, marriage, pregnancy, all that I touch, but it's not in a way I don't think any of y'all be interested in, but I can go deeper if y'all want me to. But that's that's the important thing about my MCC settings. I think a lot of y'all were just more curious about the notifications. That's how I was getting notifications. Another big thing that I use for my UDC challenge is Wonderful Whims, because that's MC Command Center. Because that is how I actually track the fertility rate in my Sims. So the actual rules have a set fertility rate per age group, I should say, for the heir specifically. I don't use that because my Wonderful Whims gives me randomized fertility, which makes good storytelling, which is why OG Stephen, for example, had 0% fertility. So he was forced to use magical potions to increase his fertility, which gave us the added aspect of there's a chance that the child could be cursed. because they're using magic to be born. So if I can find it, good lord, what am I looking at? Here we go. Y'all watch me like click past it 5 times, right? So this is how you do it. This mod goes through a lot, and it does a lot. If you've never heard of Wonderful Whims, you've probably heard of Wicked Whims. This is like the E for everybody version of Wicked Whims. So my Sims are not like going at it. I was gonna say something super inappropriate, but most of my audience are adults. Some of y'all are older than me. But just in case there's like a curious 13-year-old just trying to figure out mods for the first time, I'm not gonna say anything. But boy, do I wish I could. So instead of seeing my Sims be inappropriate against various objects in my house, this mod just allows you to have all of the pregnancy related stuff of that mod, as well as I got a woohoo update, so sometimes the Sims might not be sexually compatible, but that could be turned off if you need to. So I have my pregnancy setting. Shut up. Oh, actually, that's an important email. Okay, I'll look at that later. But menstrual cycle, I turned that off for this challenge, but it is on for some of my other personal gameplays, which gives me like extra fertility stuff. So there's sometimes, you know, you're a woman, you're not always fertile during your cycle. You're more fertile during certain sections and blah, 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 right? So in pregnancy chances, birth control, all that, which I don't really use for this challenge, but it gives me fertility rate as well. So, nope. There we go. But besides fertility rate, I was like, where is it? And also I use it a lot for this relationship settings, which is the attractiveness settings. If you have, what is that love expansion pack? What is that love stands for? Love something. The love expansion pack. It does essentially the same thing this mod does, which is why I don't have the expansion pack. It's on sale right now for like 20 bucks. So I get paid in a little bit. So maybe I'll buy the expansion pack. We'll see. But one of the biggest reasons I say in the comments months ago when the pack first came out, I wasn't getting it because this Wonderful Whims mod honestly does a lot of what that whole expansion pack does for free. So I wasn't like in a rush to get it. It has attractiveness attributes, and it has likes and dislikes and all that type of stuff. So you know, it deals with cheating and a bunch of other stuff. So I didn't really, that's really what I mostly use it for, fertility and all that. But I don't use it too much for the fertility anymore, at least in this gameplay, because I also have the RPO mod, which is the relationship, RFO, sorry, relationship, family and pregnancy mod by Lupino Sims, I want to say. This does literally everything else. This actually does have the fertility and everything like that. I can do so much adoption, pregnancy and family. It also tells me if my sim wants a child, if they don't want a child, and every now and again my sim will get a specific wish for a specific gender, so they might be elated or extremely disappointed if they don't get the gender that they want. Jealousy, romances, and friendships. I can do all types of stuff with this. Woohoo, health, all types of stuff. So for instance, that's, where is it? Here we go. I can check their fertility status up here and like their reproductive health status. So like risk of pregnancy loss, fertility, all that. I could just have my Sims go to a doctor to figure out exactly where their fertility is, but I usually like to just let them keep trying, and if I notice that something's not happening, then I'll have both the partners get their fertility checked, and then I'll move accordingly. So right now, if you're actually watching my Ultimate Decades Challenge and you're caught up, Edith, who is in our side household, actually her fertility is at 30%. So she's struggling more than a lot of my other side households to get pregnant back to back. She had the first two somewhat back to back. I've been having her and Augustine woohoo frequently. And actually I need to get Augustine checked, but I know Edith says 30%, so hers is already low. So the first two were like really miracles. So she has not gotten pregnant since she just gave birth, but she has 11 pregnancy attempts. So Will she need a fertility potion? Who knows? Blah, blah, blah. All right. Another big mod. Don't know why I didn't start with this one, but if you're following the challenge, you know I play with the cults pretty often. If you're not following the challenge, this is one of our side households, our alien spellcaster. And he is not the only alien spellcaster. All of them have the same two parents. Some of them just came out a little differently than others. Here's Celestria, if you're watching this before the 1400 episode. But I use the 12th Doctor ones. That's the person's name on Mod The Sims. They have a mod called the Hybrid Unlocker and Stabilizer. And it allows me to, one, naturally have hybrid. So I try not to touch the panel as much because I want to see if the Sims will do it on their own. And they usually do. But since I play with spellcasters and aliens a lot for the past few generations, it adds a uniqueness to my occults and my occult lore for my personal gameplay settings, which allows me to play a little bit differently and with a slightly different set of rules because I'm not playing with fully humans like I started out with. Most UDC creators are playing fully human. Occasionally there'll be like a spellcaster or a vampire involved in some way, shape, or form. As you can see, we've had like blue characters. These guys are purple with antenna. It's a lot, but all of this came to fruition specifically because I have in that hybrid unlocker and stabilizer. So it allows me to have hybrids and it allows the hybrids to remain stable. So this, well, she's not actually an alien. She's just a spellcaster. She looks like an alien because that's how her genes played out. But like Lawrence, for instance, this cutie pie right here, I think he has an alien form. Hold on. He might not be an alien. Well, his older sister, Edith, who is not in this household, is an alien and also a spellcaster. She has an alien form that she never shows, and she has magic. I feel like these... No, actually, I think she's the only one who has an alien form. I don't think... Okay. Well, Annabelle is the one who kind of started that. She married into the family, so she was made that way by the game. I don't know who her parents are. She's an orphan. She has magic and an alien form. There we go. Don't know why I didn't start with her. Completely forgot her grandkids aren't actually aliens. Most of them are not actually aliens, which is crazy. But yeah, she's old. But that's what I use the hybrid unlocker stabilizer for as well. So will they become more human in the future? Who knows? Will they become more alien in the future? Who knows? But it allows me to have these really fun combinations of Sims, not even just for UDC. I'm saying I'm putting in this UDC video because it's pretty important part of how I play nowadays. But I originally got it because I was playing vampire spellcaster hybrids at the time, which actually I think can naturally be done without mods anyway. I think it's like a little bit of a glitch sometimes you could have a spellcaster and a vampire. But that's originally why I got it, to have a vampire spellcaster hybrid. One of my personal gameplays, I have a werewolf spellcaster hybrid, so that's just how it goes. And there are a few other mods that I play with that aren't necessarily solely for UDC, but can kind of make things fun. I have base mental drugs and alcohol. They aren't doing coke because it's 1301. It's not 1301, it's 1400 now. But if I have a sim who's an alcoholic, it'll actually have like effects, and I like the fact that it has effects. The royalty mod, they're not royalty, but it has the literacy for my peasants, which I think is fun, and it allows me to do a bunch of other stuff that's also pretty cool. The LGBTQ mod, I love. It's always in, mostly to have my Sims discover a lot more about their sexuality and gender, as well as their preferences, without me having to kind of force it on them. Because most Sims are automatically pansexual. I know there's that update, but I feel like the way the game does it naturally is not as varied as the LGBTQ mod is. So the religion mod I don't use too often. I mostly use it for storytelling purposes, but it is here if it becomes important in the future. Yes. I feel like I'm missing a mod. I mean, it's in the game. I feel like I'm forgetting to talk about it though. Oh, here we go. A Deep Indigo. I have the private practice mod and the healthcare redux mod by A Deep Indigo, which doesn't really change anything, but you know, Sims get sick, right? And instead of having the Sim sickness, I choose to use these mods because there are potential for deadly illnesses without me having to do anything. So a lot of Simmers who are playing the UDC challenge who are not using the mod choose to roll for illnesses to see if their Sims will survive that illness. I don't do that. Instead, I let the game decide. So instead of getting like spots and stuff like that, they'll have a common cold. It'll last longer. It'll spread to the family faster. And sometimes the common cold will just be meningitis and then they die, or bronchitis or something. So then it adds in the extra layer of, if I have a peasant family and they cannot afford to get medical assistance because they have no money, they'll probably just straight up die. Or if I have a more well-off family, their chances of dying is lessened, right? And then I have private practice mods, so there's a chance of like heart attacks and things like that. None of these medical events have happened in the past century, but that doesn't mean they won't happen. But between those mods as well as my RFO mod with the pregnancy mod, I also have increased chance of my Sims having like miscarriages and stuff like that, which I just added for realism. Once again, these are all mods that I play with in my regular gameplay anyway. It just carried over nicely into this gameplay as well. So yeah, but I think that's, oh wait, one last thing. Sometimes every now and again I'll be asked what G shade I'm using for my Ultimate Decades challenge. I use a different shade for each challenge. So if you don't know what G shade is, it's basically a shader to change the color of your Sims. I'm using a few different things. I'm using a mod to turn the Sims blues into actual blacks to make lighting a little bit better for it. The natural Sims lighting doesn't have true blacks or anything like that. It uses dark blues. I'm using something that changes them to black, and I'm using a different lighting, I think not torchlight. I forgot what it is, but it's making lighting more even, more realistic as well. But G shade is the one y'all are most familiar with and the one I get the most questions about. For the Ultimate Decades challenge, I specifically use Apricot Blossom, right? This is what I use. This is what makes the shade. Without it, it looks like my earlier gameplays. And so let's just stay in here with Lucia for a second. This scene would become like this. You see what I mean? Like the lighting's just way different. With it, it kind of had this old-timey look, so that's why I chose it. Every now and again, okay, well, if I could just go back in the walls. Every now and again, y'all will probably see, not almond. What is it? Every now and again, y'all will probably see Radiance. Radiance is a bit bright, but sometimes I change it if I'm in an area that's too dark, just because I'm a little colorblind. So certain areas or certain machinimas might be brightened up because I can't see. It's too many dark colors. They all blend in together. If you don't see that, you might see Serenity, which I know it might not seem like a big difference to y'all, but the brightness is pretty clear to me. But that's usually it. Or this Vanilla, but most of the time y'all ask me what my G shade is. It's Apricot Blossom. I forgot who made it. Oh wait, it says right here, Sims Boo. Sims Boo Apricot Blossom is who I use for my G shade. And yeah, that's it. Those are my most asked questions that y'all left in comments on my $13.99 video, as well as my newer viewers left throughout all of my older videos as well. So I really appreciate y'all following and being here. And this was a lot of fun. I never really get to go through my mods and everything like that. Sorry if it was a bit all over the place. I use a lot of mods and technically all of them were helpful because I use them all, but they're not always like important for UDC, right? So some quick mods, but most of the other mods are listed on the official rules of the challenge. So in terms of like the mods that set the scene for the medieval setting, right? Like this medieval foraging, medieval meals mod, right? Homestead helper to make breads and everything like that. It's all listed on the paper. So that's it. I don't use anything else that's crazy. Oh, I have this climbable tree. Somebody asked me how I'm climbing the tree. This is a mod. It's called the climbable tree mod. It's this one specific tree you put down on your lot and your Sims can climb it for fun if they want to. This is the archery mod. There are two different sword fighting mods. One of them uses it's less of a sword fighting skill and more of the sword fighting scene that comes with Get Famous. It's that revamped with a sword overlay. But to me, the better sword fighting, like win or lose sword fight, comes with the royalty mod. The royalty mod has a lot of parts intertwined within it that feel like it's its own mod, but it is not. It is part of the royalty mod, and that includes statuses, like peasant, middle class, gentry. I'm not playing with royalty at the moment because we're in a tiny little farming village for the next few centuries, but it has royalty, it has trading, it has so much that you can play with. Yeah, scavenging, some rabbit holes, religion, all that. It really depends on how you want to play. And really, I love watching everybody else play as well to see like how their families fare. So thank you all so much for joining. If you're new or have been here for the whole century, or if you're just here to learn more about some of the mods that you could use for your Sims 4 Ultimate Decades Challenge, or just in general. But yeah, this was so much fun, and I hope y'all are ready for the intro to 1400 because it's coming out today. When y'all see it, it's coming out. The videos are being edited at the same time, so I don't get sleep. But yeah, bye.